Now, if you're a woman, have you had reservations about managing and investing money? Global research by the financial company BNY Mellon suggests around 28% of women feel confident. It's a low number, handling and investing money. At least that was the view among 8,000 female survey respondents. Some put this aversion down to predominantly male-oriented financial service companies. But new research shows that if women invested at the same rate as men, it could result in an additional, wait for it, $3.2 trillion of capital being invested globally. It's a lot of cash. So how can we make investment more inclusive? Well, I'm joined here in the studio by Kristina Church. She's Head of Responsible Strategy at BNY Mellon Investment Management. Kristina, you're welcome. That's the company that's led this research. And Iona Bain is still with us. She penned that Young Money blog. She's also written a book called Own It, helping younger people to invest and take control of their financial future. Iona actually has been working with BNY Mellon on their campaign. Kristina, let's come to you first. I was a bit cheeky in the headlines of the show. Women are less confident managing money. Say women, official. Were you surprised by the results of this survey?
No, I wasn't surprised, but I think there were a lot of findings in the survey that were really interesting. And what we were trying to look at was not so much why women are not investing, but what can we do to change that? What are the barriers to prevent women investing? And we did find that there were three key barriers that were stopping women investing. There was an income barrier, there was a risk barrier, and there was a confidence or engagement barrier about understanding what investing is. And I think there's a lot more we can do because there's clearly huge sums of money sitting on the sidelines that could be investing, and it could be investing for good as well.
And of course, we've got to broaden this conversation out. The kind of women you were talking to in this instance, we cover lots of subjects here on the show, but you were talking to women who maybe do have discretionary savings that they can put to work. But there are many, many women around the country, of course, who are trying to manage household budgets. In some ways, a lot harder thing to do. Do you think that, I wouldn't say lack of confidence, but maybe that caution, that over-caution perhaps, extends up and down the income scale? Oh,
completely. And actually, of the 8,000 people we spoke to, it was across the income scale.
Very good.
We spoke to asset managers as well. We spoke to men too. We were trying to understand exactly what it is. And I think what really stood out for me in the report was the amount of money people felt they needed as disposable income to invest. It was, for the UK alone, it was £40,000 per year of disposable income. And that's a huge number.
Well above the average wage.
Absolutely.
The average wage is what, 28 grand, 30 grand, something like that. So what you're saying is, even if it's small amounts of money, even if it's just a few quid a week, invest, take advantage of compound interest, though interest rates are pretty low. You have to speculate, if you like, a little bit to accumulate, particularly in a time of high inflation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also just trying to get rid of that word speculate or risk and trying to understand that investment can have positive impacts. It can really drive financial independence for people. And that, to me, can just drive so much change if we can get people to understand just the smallest amount of money. People have got to be willing and able to have that money to invest, and there clearly is, we need to understand people's incomes to do that, but we don't need these large numbers that people, well, women in particular, seem to think they need to start investing.
Iona, this is central to your work over quite a few years. Yeah. You've not only been encouraging young women to take control of their financial destiny and use their money, big or small, to personal advantage, but young men too, young people across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that whenever you have this discussion, you always run the risk of stereotyping or making generalizations, which is not what we want to do here. But I do think that you can observe differences between how men and women think about money. And I do think that when blokes kind of decide, actually, here's an opportunity. I don't know absolutely everything right now, but I'm going to go for it, bite on the bullet, and figure things out as I go along. There's a lot to be said for that attitude. And I think women...
Backing yourself.
Backing yourself, yeah, absolutely. And I think women quite rightly do have a bit more of a cautious attitude when it comes to lots of things in life, and they may apply that to their finances too. But I think you can be overcautious. There is such a thing as reckless conservatism. So we know if you keep all your money in cash over the long term, you are going to suffer the Pac-Man of your finances, i.e. inflation. It's going to keep eating away at your money over the long term. And the only chance you have of outpacing inflation is if you invest it. And Kristina's absolutely right. You really don't need that much each month or each week in order to just get started. Little and often. Way easier.
Kristina, we used to be a nation of savers, didn't we? But we're not anymore. Of course, we have a huge financial services industry, not just in London, of course. There's a huge investment industry in Leeds, in Edinburgh, in Bournemouth, down on the south coast, in Cardiff as well, and indeed in Belfast. What can we do to encourage people to save more, to invest more, to put money aside at a time when the cost of living crisis is biting and inflation is really high?
Yeah, I think actually there is a lot we can do, because what we found in the report was it's not so much that women don't want to invest. It's there's a confidence hurdle and there's an income hurdle. So what we can do is engage better with women and with all people out there who want to invest. We can make investment more inclusive. We can use language that's much more accessible. Get rid of jargon. Let's really appeal to what does appeal to women. What appeals to them, we've found in the report, was investing for good, investing for the environment, for society. Let's use language that resonates. And if we can do that, and also if we can inspire more women into careers in investment, we did find also in the report that if there are more role models talking to women as they're talking about their finances, they might be more willing to invest. And I think that's a really important point.
Well, we've got two role models here.
Woo!
Whoa! On the money, helping to create your role model status. Your final word, Iona, two young people who are trying to make ends meet about how they manage their money.
I completely understand it's really tough right now for young people, and if you feel like you just don't have that spare cash to invest right now, it's much more important that you have a safety net of savings, build that up first. But if you're thinking about investing, you can do your research. Investing has never been more accessible or egalitarian.
Stick some money in an ISA if you got it, and then you don't get taxed on your savings, right?
That's a very, very basic.
And every year you get an allowance.
Absolutely, absolutely. Or a lifetime ISA if you're saving for your first home, because you're getting up to £1,000 free from the government every year towards your first home. It's a no-brainer.
Iona Bain, writer of the Young Money blog, and Kristina Church of BNY Mellon, thank you so much both for coming into the On the Money studio. No stereotypes here.
No.